Travis Wayne Goodzone. So, as sociology outside of the state of Utah is science-based, and I, having learned the scientific processing for the development of theories and for the testing for confirmation of those theories, I am well aware of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints' sociology, which is why I pay attention to the church membership numbers and my impact on the church's withholding of those membership number stats, but also of why my audience does not get the attention of the younger generation of Mormons. And the Deseret News came out last night with an article where a study had shown that the rising generation of Mormons are tending towards a more Mitt Romney type Republican stance, as they claim. They're no longer alt-right Mike Lee Mormons. And that does help to explain some things. Mitt Romney was from the Arizona polygamous Mormons, or Mexico Mormons, sorry, as there were those who got sent down there to colonize, as Brigham Young intended to claim or take back much of the territory of the West to create a wall of Mormons so that others would not pass, and thus the Mountain Meadows Massacre by Senator Lee's ancestor, John D. Lee. And so it's kind of a misnomer to compare the differences of Mormon views of Mitt Romney and Mike Lee. They're both the same. They just have different methods of presentation. And that's what's being done here, is that the church is still alt-right. They're not Democrat. They're not left-wing Republican or even moderate Republican. They have always been alt-right Republican. They just don't show it. They don't flash it around. And that's what nobody seems to get, is because Mitt Romney, if you paid attention to what he votes for and what he doesn't vote for, you see that he is alt-right. You see that he is catering to the church. And you see the difference with the manner in which Mike Lee votes. He still votes for the church. He still votes other bills down because he wants something more for the church, and presents bills for the church. And this is just, it's the same type of thing. The end goal is still the same. It's just the manner in which they get there is different, and it's purposely done to distract other people, to deceive other people. But also influencing the rising generation is TikTok. And I see that as well, as Mormons of the younger generation are unable to just sit and listen to videos. 5 minutes, that's too long. They're gone. If they even showed up at all. If they got triggered by the thumbnail picture and the title of the video, and YouTube recommended it to them. All those factors are involved. But some changes since the 2016's last poll or last survey that this organization took is Monson. It was 2014, wasn't it? When he changed the age of missionaries to 18 for boys and 19 for girls. And so that gave a couple of years. Let's confirm this. In 2012. Oh. In October conference. 2000. Oh, wait a minute. That was 2022. But still, that's hilarious. No, it is. Yeah, October 6th conference, 2012. Because that's when the news had come out earlier that year that the church had lost a record number of its membership. And so, yeah, in order to compensate, they're keeping the kids from going to the colleges and sending them right out into the missions after high school. Only the women are forced to stick around for an extra year, which, again, why? Why? What good does it do to have the women go to college for a year? Only thing I can think of is that the church still wants women to breed. And is hoping that women, by going to college, will find a return missionary and breed. And so, yeah, that makes sense now, because he's trying to generate a stronger batch of the rising generation, and it appears to have backfired. But it took a number of years still to weed out the teenagers of that 2012 generation to change after the 2016 survey that was done. And the survey, I'd have to check out the questions because it could be rigged. But since I can only assume, because I don't know what the 2016 questions were versus what they were this last time around, whether they were leading questions where people are forced to answer selected questions, or if they're able to put in others that are not listed. Excuse me, that plays a big part in survey taking, because the human factor is too obscure to narrow down a categorization of human behavior and thinking processes. But there's some external factors that are visible, like TikTok. Multi-billions are on TikTok. And so clearly the younger generation are on TikTok. And so when I see that their attention span is low on my videos, whereas the older generation are spending more time watching and listening, whether they agree or not, that's another issue. But at least they're listening. That tells me something, that TikTok is having an impact, as the news is telling us it is. And so, as I've told you before, I'm neither conservative or liberal. I don't fall into that psychological categorization system that they use to divide and conquer people by bullying with name-calling. I don't fit into any of the categories. And so Mormons, they think that I'm an anti-Mormon apostate, and so they can then justify abusing me in that way and treating me as such. Looks like somebody can't quit the church. Those types of comments. And leave our church alone. You can't judge us. Why don't you stick with your own religion? Leave ours alone. And they treat me as the other. And ex-Mormons, because I warn of the dangers of psychology, and because the main leader of the ex-Mormon cult is a psychologist, ex-Mormons shun me as still trying to trick them back into Mormonism, that by saying that Joseph Smith is true and the Book of Mormon is true, that they think that I'm automatically wrong and that I'm a deceiver and I haven't left Mormonism, and I'm trying to trick them back into going to church. It's just stupid. Because I've been trying to tell you, I'm neither. Joseph Smith was Jewish. That means it's neither Mormon nor ex-Mormon. He's Jewish. It's a completely different paradigm. And that's the way I am with politics. I'm not liberal nor conservative. I'm neither. The Constitution says we're supposed to be a constitutional republic. Not a socialist republic, not a representative republic. A constitutional republic. All of these political debates and arguments are ridiculous, and they're destroying our nation. But what this means is that because Mormons are dividing into their two different camps, whether they leave the church or stay with the church and become strengthened in their testimony, which is a misdefining of the testimony. They literally are being brainwashed. That's what all of these categorization systems do by psychology, is an attempt to brainwash you, to control your agency, to control your behavior, and to control your beliefs. And yes, even on the political realm, psychologists have forced you into the two categories, either liberal or conservative. And if you've got a subcategory, that's what's called a spectrum in psychology. And it was a Mormon who created this categorization system of psychological bullying to control your behavior. Because the human mind is capable of independent thought and is unique to everyone else because of the different experiences we have. Each baby is born from a different mother, and so every birth is a different experience for every single baby. Even being in the womb is a different experience than for every other person, because of what the mother takes into her body, what the mother does with her life. And a baby will sleep soundly if the mother vacuums while the baby is in the womb. That's just one of those weird things. But from experience, the baby is used to the noise, and so when they're born, that noise reminds them of being in the womb. And so that's why. And so as each individual has different experiences in life growing up, despite the shared experiences that society has, it's a different interpretation of the shared experience. And so I can watch Star Wars and pick out all the Jewish symbolism that the authors are using, and others will look at it and want to join a Sith cult and destroy the world. And likewise with the Book of Mormon. I read the Book of Mormon, and I see it as Jewish prophecy of the latter days. Mormons read it and go, literal history, Jesus came to America. Ex-Mormons go, fraud! So, yeah, there's lots of concerning factors that are involved in this. And my attempts all these years was to try to reach Mormons. Not necessarily ex-Mormons, but hoping that they too catch on that Joseph Smith is Jewish and the Book of Mormon is Jewish. You're not supposed to use Christian interpretation. And trying to explain to ex-Mormons that the Danites were the ones who sabotaged and overthrew Joseph Smith's church. But because they fit into the other brainwashing category, ex-Mormons too are in need of rescue. The church has got both camps, both tribes, in bondage, and trying to figure out how to rescue both of you has been a failed process for the most part. I've been able to rescue a few, but yeah, it's just not working. But what I noticed with the survey is that the rising generation of Mormons are believing that the church is changing to be more liberal. This is what Nelson has been tricking everybody with. As I had gotten a comment once by a person who believed that Nelson was more liberal than the alt-right tendencies of the church. And I laughed and wrote back my laughter that he was unaware of the secrets that Nelson was actually doing, if anybody was actually paying attention. And so, yeah, he changed the temple text after excommunicating Kate Kelly. And what did happen after they excommunicated, or after they changed the temple text? Well, they, allowed women no longer to wear the veil, and Eve had a bigger speaking role, and women no longer obey their husband. They obey the prophet, God, who tells them to obey their husband, and the law of chastity, which is now polygamy. Women are ordered to divorce their husbands, and they will be supported by him while he marries another woman, and repeats that process over and over again. That's the law of polygamy in Section 132. And Nelson came out and said, this is now the law. It is not legally and lawfully married according to the United States of America anymore. It is now legally and lawfully married according to his law, which is Section 132, which is polygamy. And as I've told you, it's a Brigham Young document. It came out the year after he got arrested by his latest ex. He was furious and wanted her to die. And that's why you see Joseph Smith saying, I'm going to destroy you, Emma, if you don't let me have other wives. He was talking to that woman, Brigham Young was. And so, yeah, people are too easily suckered into the psychological manipulation. And I can't combat it. People have become Manchurian candidates for their parties. And what this rising generation is telling me is that they're being groomed to be sheep for the slaughter. That they think that the church is being more liberal, allowing more liberal thinking. And then when Nelson takes over the kingdom, these people are going to be in shock, and Nelson will force them into bondage. They won't be able to leave unless by the death penalty. The blood atonement will be returned. And this is what concerns me, is that these younger generation will not have the power to just leave the church anymore. And the women will be forced into breeding camps with a particular church leader. And even the child brides will begin again. And I fear for that day, because the church is winning. And there doesn't seem to be any hope of the church falling as prophesied in Scripture, as it needs to. But we'll see. Mormons are supposed to be divided against each other and destroy the church that way, according to the Book of Mormon. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, shocking video titles is the only way to get people's attention, but I can't retain that attention because of the brainwashing that has been done to everybody. So, yeah, I mean, I can't lie to you in my videos. You know, I can word things a certain way, and because I know that you've incorrectly interpreted those words, you'll be more attentive to my video topic. But then you watch and you realize that it's not what you thought it was, and you leave, and you put a thumbs down and a hate comment and death threat. Disobeying Nelson. But yeah, Nelson is using that brainwashing technique on you as well when he repeats certain words at conference. This last conference was peace. Jesus gives you peace. Peace of Jesus. Peace, 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 peace. It's all a deception, as he then slips in the other stuff that I expose. And you get upset. How dare you? Jesus gives peace. You just reveal yourself as having been brainwashed. So, but yeah, it's getting too long of a video now, and so I'm talking to my screen all by myself. So it's sad. You guys refuse to study the church as you were, I'm hoping, are told in the public school system to study for researching a book. You don't do that with the church. You do the read, ponder, pray, get a spiritual feeling, and you call that truth. And you don't even bother to go on any further to do any testing for confirmation or dismissing when you can't produce a test. Spiritual witness that created nonsense, misinterpreting Moroni chapter 10 verses 3 through 5, will never give you a test result. And that's how you know it's false. But you apparently haven't learned to apply that to religion. So, all right, well, we're done.